We are here. We are on the fourth and final part of the Ron Toye interview with Knuckleheads. So we're going to jump straight into it and see how this goes.
And so Vic doesn't have a choice per se, and he's being professional when he's there, right? Whether he likes the person or he doesn't like the person, I'm sure he's going to act the same because he's just that type of person.
Right.
So for him to sit down and have cigars with somebody, I don't think he's doing it out of a malicious way. And I understand from an emotional perspective, it can seem like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that I think what is hurting you here is that you think that Vic has any control over what people say.
Right.
And you
Exactly,
and you think that there's a silver bullet by having him apologize for all this stuff, that it's going to make everything go away.
And some of it's over his power too.
Right.
It's a lot of it's out of his power, but just as much as I'm not expecting you to come on here and tell everybody on the hashtag side of your dispute to stop doing what they're doing, because I don't think that's going to be effective.
So everybody stop using kick Vic and kick this and kick anything. Fuck hashtags.
Hashtag fuck it.
Yeah, he's saying that because he knows how much damage has been done. That's why he's like it.
Hashtag that.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
So I don't think that anyone's going to listen to that. As much as they support you, but the bottom line is like we have to understand. Like I understand, you're not responsible for that. And no matter how many apologies you put out there, no matter how many apologies Vic puts out there, that's not going to change anything. And from Vic's side, like he was the plaintiff. He was the one bringing the case, and you're the one defending yourself. So obviously you're going to be opposed.
Right.
But at any point in time, either one of you could have sat down at the table and said, "Look, let's just hash this out."
Mm-hmm.
And if you're saying,
Mediation,
"Well, I want you to apologize for everything that everyone else said about me," like that's not within his power, right? And if you really want to, and this is just from myself, if you want to be the bigger person, you can say like, yeah, this is something that I'm willing to swallow. You know what? I'll sit down. We'll ease up. We'll talk about this, and we want a resolution. Because
it'll be interesting.
The main
to see
thing
if he
about
says
communication in that one video that you were talking about of mine is that when people enter into debates and communication, when they're looking to win, that's automatically going to lose.
Yep.
Right. You have to have a goal of that to learn, and I think both sides have learned.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen and I've met Vic, and I didn't know what he was like before, but I know what he's like now, and I think he's a wonderful human being and a wonderful person.
Right.
I've never met you before, and I've heard about you, but I've never met you before.
Right.
Had a chance to sit down and talk with you, and I think that you're a different person than you were 16 months ago.
Yep.
Like that part I can see in the way that you're talking and the opinions that you're having. So,
because he's actually realized what's going on. He's actually realized the extent of how big this damaging thing has been done. You can see that now, and I can see what Cress is saying, because 16 months ago, a lot of people didn't really know who Ron was. And obviously, in the last 16 months, a lot of information has come out about him, his past and everything else. Because if none of this happened, no one would have known what he was like in the past. No one would have found out. No one. Because no one cared. Basically, that's exactly what it is. And obviously, all these little things that come out, obviously, you had Sarah Whitehart's brother, and obviously now Ron Toye being what he was. And it's just tons of information that's come out the last 16 months that has basically gone, oh my God, these people actually know what I'm like. This is what's going on.
My question would be, I mean, and again, you don't have to talk legal strategy, you don't have to talk about anything like that. If the situation came up where you had a chance to sit down at a table and say, let's just settle this and let's just get this over with. I'm willing to talk. I just want things to go back. I want people to heal. Would you take that chance?
I'm always open to having a good, positive conversation.
Okay.
They had mediation. The Judge Chup, he actually said, go into a room and try and hash this out. That wasn't that long ago either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And just take this at face value, just as an implorement from my side of things, not from Vic or not from any of the hashtags, just from my side of things. If that situation comes up, honestly, please put your emotions in check. Sit down, look what's best for yourself, look what's best for your fiance and your family, and please do what's best for the situation, because it's been 16 months. People have been beating themselves up. There are people that have never seen each other before, that are never going to see each other, that are literally trying to destroy themselves on social media over something that they're not even involved with anymore.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. Like, yeah, I get that that yourself and Vic are kind of figureheads on the situation, and like I don't include Monica in that, because Monica has done more of like a taken a back seat, and I'm not saying in a bad way, but she hasn't spoken up, and she hasn't raised up to speaking about this in this situation. Of the people that have been talking, like you've been one of the bigger figureheads that have put yourself forward. So if it comes down
100%.
between you and Vic into talking and stuff like that, I think it would probably benefit everybody in the situation if you want to be a bigger person and you want to take that on yourself and make that step. I think everybody, I think people that are supporting you would still support you,
Right.
etc. So just from my perspective, you can take that for what you will.
And I know that, like, the way it is for me, if the dude texted me tomorrow and was like, "Hey, you want to meet up and just chat?" I don't know how it works with lawyers and all that. I would meet with them. You know, that I don't, and that's the thing that I think I right now, if Vic wanted to talk and chit chat with me, I would. Like, I would have no problem with it. And I agree with you that it would be nice to be able to sit down. So I appreciate your take on it. And I think surprisingly, you'd see that my opinion is pretty close to yours in that situation. And I value how you present that so much. And I that's why I really liked your videos. And that's why I agreed to even come on your show. Because I like that it's not polar on either side. It's very human level.
I'm going to stop it by there. In November, well, just before November, Judge Chopper said, go to mediation. See if you can hash something out between you guys. If anything comes of it, just do it. Obviously, we've seen VM trying to get in touch with these people over the past year before they went to court. Yeah, we saw the emails, we saw everything, and they didn't even respond. They literally sent it to Sony's HR, which I've said in previous versions of this interview now. He literally tried his hardest to reach out to them, and none of them did anything. But with him saying, our opinion, they're kind of similar. If mediation came about again, I can possibly see them doing exact same and saying, yeah, we're not going to do nothing. And with this, with Ron saying, if you texted me and said, let's have a talk tomorrow or whatever, I'd do it. He wouldn't. That's just a sad thing to think. That's my opinion on that. Because if that has happened, what's stopping him from messaging VM? It works both ways. Another thing I want to add in before we get back into it, he said, this is why I agreed to come onto your show, because you see things of this. Obviously, with me, if I offered him on, he'd be like, no. Or he probably would say yes, because he'd then be trying to belittle me, but that's not going to work, because obviously he wants to sue either me or the actual therapist. So it'd be kind of interesting to see how this goes.
Thinking and processing.
Well, and I'm hoping that at the end of the day, when you walk away from this conversation, like you kind of take a minute and you think about it, and you look at the situation, and because like I understand that you're having a little bit of fun with things, with the comments and with going on the kiwi farms, and you're finding an outlet with that, because I mean everybody's bored right now.
Yes.
Understatements.
If you're finding that you're getting stressed out because of what people's opinions of you are and things like that, you have to look at your actions, and you have to tailor that accordingly, right? You have to take a step back. So like if you're seeing something that someone's saying online, and they're saying it's like, well, they think poorly of you, or they think you're X, Y, or Z. Right. You have to look at that and say, why does that bother me? Right? Why do I let that bother me? Why do I let this person who I'm never going to see or talk have an opinion about me? Why do they care? And basically, at that point, you have to evaluate, is this worth my time? Is this worth my energy? Is this worth like taking time away from my family? etc. Is this time? Is this worth taking emotional energy away from my family and things like that? Because from that point, then you can start saying, okay, and it's baby steps, right? It's building blocks, right? Like Rome wasn't built in a day. Mr. Hop wasn't like socially trained in a week, right?
Oh, wow. Thanks, Trump. Appreciate that, eh? All comes back to me.
It does.
It's all your fault.
Everything's my fault.
Like, honestly, I'll use Mr. Hop as an example, as my little guinea pig here. When I first met him, like most of the convention community absolutely hated him. Like they wouldn't piss on him to put him on. They wouldn't piss him on if he was on fire.
Wow.
Right? It was.
I'm
bad.
still here. You realize that, right?
Yeah, I'm getting to the good part.
Okay, good.
You have to go through the gristle to get to the meat.
Oh, true. That's true.
So, basically, when I met him, like people were telling me, don't work with him. Don't waste your time on him. Like he's this, he's that, he's that. I'm like, let me make my own decisions. Let me make my own mind up. I'm gonna give him 2 years. I'm gonna work with him for 2 years, and if he doesn't work, if he reverts back to whatever else, then I'm just gonna call it there and then walk away. But if he shows growth, I'm gonna stick with him. And I think here we are, like almost like 8-9 years later. Like I don't even know how long it's been, but like I've been working with him for a long time. Like we put together 6 Kitchener Comic Cons. We put together like 3 Emico's mini conventions. We put together quite a few events together. And exactly, in Zombie Walks. So from where he is now to where he was, like that is a huge, distance traveled. And it's not. It was not in a day, right? We're talking about a very long time, and there's still lots to go. I mean, we all have miles left on our speedometers, right? We have some mileage left to go, and every day that we live, we have to learn something new. That's the idea. So, like, I'm hoping that and I'm seeing, like, at least from what you're talking about, Ron, that you've learned a bit from where you were to where you are now, and hopefully you continue to keep learning.
Yes. And
I'm hoping that translates into a realization later on, and maybe, hopefully, one day, yourself and Monica can make friends with, can make amends. Or I'm not saying friends, like obviously not go out for drinks or anything. Probably not, but at least to a point where you're not adversarial,
right?
And you can continue your lives, and everyone involved can kind of have a fulfilling life. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So was there any questions you had, Mr. Hop, for him?
Well, yeah. The biggest advice I would give you for what it's worth is that just work with what you can control, because anything beyond that, you can't control it. Like as an example you said before, getting a full apology from Vic for all the nasty things that people could say. He can't issue that. The only thing he could do is basically work within what he has. And one of the few things that I've learned from the last little while is just do what you can. Anything more than that, you're going overboard. At the same time, you start getting obsessed with stuff, and then the next thing you know, you're up late at night, wondering if the things you've done were correct or not. And the next thing you know, you're compensating, and you just start getting this whole giant bad headspace, and just goes on and on and on. And
very true.
Again, that's probably the best thing you could do. Plus, on top of that, consider maybe take the initiative. Maybe instead of him contacting you, maybe you contacting him. Perhaps maybe
what did I say
might work as a suggestion for what it's worth, because again,
what
the whole
did I
thing
say?
that people want is to resolve things and move forward, because it's for
Works
fans.
both ways.
It's all about the good times and going back to that,
right?
Stuff like that. So that's probably the biggest thing I probably would suggest overall, because again, if you're waiting for something that's not going to happen, it's not going to happen until you take the initiative, type of thing. But before you take that, you ask yourself, is it worth it?
Yeah. And did you have time for more questions, Ron?
I did have to jump off here pretty quickly. I've got some people over, but I could probably answer 1 or 2 more.
Perfect. I just have a couple more questions here for you, and then we'll let you jump off. I really appreciate your time,
lockdown?
Jake, by the way. Thank you so much for carving time out for us.
Could be
so
different.
I just one quick question here. Would you consider at all proposing a mutual apology as a settlement option?
I'd have to think about it.
Yeah. I mean, just give it some thought. Because I mean, I think that would give something that you're both looking for.
That's a very good question.
And something that would solve things without any more of a mess and whatever else and anything like that. And And yeah, I completely forgot my second question, so that was terrible. But I'll have to email you later or something. But did you have anything else to say that before you hopped off there, Ron?
No, really. I think you guys are great. I hope you guys continue your show. I see you got hockey sticks here. Who's your favorite teams? Are we the Canadians? Which guys are you guys going for?
Oh my goodness, I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan.
Like it?
Die hard.
I like the Calgary Flames.
I'm from Boston, so
yeah.
Total enemies.
But you guys always had the best goalie back. Patrick Roy is insane. So
Yeah, that's true.
Very true.
That's true.
Yeah. No, anytime you guys ever want to chit chat, just let me know, and I'm here for you guys to answer any questions.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Ron.
You guys
appreciate it.
And have a great afternoon.
Yep, you as well. Take care.
Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Well, that was an interesting conversation.
That was.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the interview is now over. Obviously, I've said what I've wanted to say in the past videos regarding this. And with this one here, Cress, that question is probably the best question that they've probably asked in the entire interview. Is the one, would you consider a mutual apology? And you could just see in Ron's face then, he was a bit like, I'd have to think, straight away I'd have to think about that. It wasn't like yes, it wasn't a no. It was almost like, oh, I'll have to think about that. And you could see his mind moving. It's ticking. It's working overtime. But with that, I can personally possibly say, in my own opinion, that was going to be a no. Mostly because he sees this as he's done nothing wrong. He's still saying that, well, I'm looking after my fiancé. Oh, excuse me. I'm looking after my fiancé, which is true, you know. That's, you know, he needs to do that because that's his fiancé, that's his future, that's his family. But the mediation part as well. Leo Cress said, oh, would you consider sitting down, hashing things out? A lot of people seem to forget, but that's why I moved down in the video as well, because I wanted to see a bit of the chat, and they said, well, one person said it. Does anyone not remember mediation? I've said that's exactly what I said. You know, it's interesting that he's like, oh yeah, you know, we'll do that now. He could have done that 6 or 7 months ago. You know, because again, back then, it was dying down a little bit, because obviously when they were back and forth with court, they said, right, I'm going to give you a month, go to mediation, try and hash this thing out, do whatever, but we're back here in November. And they could have gone to mediation, they could have hashed something out there, and it could have been all and done with there and then, boom. But they probably thought, no, I want my money, because what I've said, I believe, which is fair enough, you know, that's their own opinion, they're allowed it. And but then you got Vic saying, oh no, you know, what they've done is wrong. They tried ruining me, you know, they were ringing up, you know, tortious interference, trying to get cons to drop him, which, again, it can be proved, but because he went back to Kamea-Con, that can be brought up. Now, if he never went to Kamea-Con, and it was due to that, it would be a completely different ballgame, 100%. It'd be completely different. But overall, I did like the interview, and, you know, say with Cress and Mr. Hoppe, they actually kept their emotions in check, because obviously, someone like myself, Tug, or whatever, you know, we would probably towards, you know, the middle or whatever, we'd probably be a bit like, oh, because Ron would probably try and ask questions that would try and rile us up. Because that's what he is. That's the kind of person he is. And you can just tell that by certain movements and the way he was answering some of the questions here. But it was. So I actually enjoyed the interview. And I'm pretty much said my piece on it now, obviously in the last 3 segments, including this one. But if anything does come of this, and, you know, they actually think, you know what, maybe hashing something out together, you know, because this has gone on a little bit too much now, then maybe something can happen, maybe something doesn't. We don't know. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell for future updates, and I'll see all you wonderful people soon.